Alright students, we're going to talk about the respiratory system. This is the first system in our series of the human body systems that we're going to study. We're going to try and do a few things with this video. First, we want you to understand the difference between breathing and respiration, and we also want you to understand some of the organs that are part of this system. So let's start with the organs. Remember that organs are made out of tissues, and that if we take a couple of organs we get a system. So the respiratory system is made up of your nose, your mouth, and these are connected in the back of your throat. We have the trachea, which is a tube that takes air from either the mouth or the nose. It splits it in the bronchi. The bronchi split into bronchioles, and these go into your lungs, which are really made out of alveoli. So your whole lung is made out of alveoli, bronchioles, and a little bit of bronchi. The muscle below it is the diaphragm. It's not technically part of the respiratory system, but it usually gets included with the system because it allows the system to function mechanically. We'll talk about that later, but it's the muscle that pulls air in and out. In order to understand how the system works, we need to remember that our atmosphere, the air we breathe, is made up of a bunch of different stuff. Mostly nitrogen and oxygen, and then these other ones. Carbon dioxide is what we breathe out. Oxygen is what we need. So we're going to breathe all this in, but our respiratory system figures out a way to identify oxygen, absorb it, and then our body gets rid of carbon dioxide. So let's talk about how this works. So first of all, there's breathing. You use your nose, your mouth to bring air in, travels through the trachea, the bronchi, the bronchioles, the alveoli, and all the air from the atmosphere goes down those tubes, down that passageway, until it gets to the lungs. Once it's in the lungs, which are in your body, the oxygen in the air is absorbed by the lungs and delivered to the body. The body gets rid of carbon dioxide, CO2, and sends it back out the same way. So the CO2 goes from the body into the alveoles, into the bronchioles, out the bronchi, out the trachea, and out the nose, your mouth. This whole process is breathing. We're bringing oxygen into the body, and we're getting rid of carbon dioxide. So why do we need the oxygen? Well, it's really simple, really. The mitochondria, yes, we're back to organelles already, is responsible for transforming the food we eat, the oxygen our body takes in through the lungs, and converting it into energy. And this is respiration. This is how you and I can do the stuff we do. Energy gives us the ability to move and to respond and react, and in order for us to get oxygen, we have to use our respiratory system. So respiration is the process that happens in the cells. Breathing happens in our lungs, and the two of them together allow us to have energy. And using energy is one of the things that we talked about all living things have to be able to do. So let's compare breathing and respiration quickly. Breathing is inhaling and exhaling. You could say we breathe. It's just bringing air in and out of our lungs. We could refer to it as a mechanical process because it involves parts of our body moving, our muscles and our lungs, and it happens there. Respiration produces energy. It uses food and oxygen. It's a chemical process, and it happens in the mitochondria. So breathing is pretty simple, and it happens in the lungs. Respiration is a complex process that happens in our cells, but we need the oxygen that we get from breathing for respiration to occur.